which honestly sounds crazy to me. But my early impressions have been pretty good, if you can believe it. I'm just checking these, the streams, making sure it looks okay. Yeah, so the demo for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth came out yesterday. I downloaded it, I checked it out, and it was like pretty good. So we're gonna see how that holds up under under a little bit of a play session. But I was watching some pretty compelling analysis videos of what you've got. And my first, I played 10 minutes of it, and thought it looked pretty good. We are, sorry, I'm just trying to update Twitch. Give me a sec here. Under the Island. I'm not playing Under the Island. I am playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. There we go. Okay, cool, good, excellent. Looks good. Yeah, we're playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I checked it out a little bit yesterday when the demo dropped. Very impressed. But let's see what we're looking at. Obviously, this is a Switch 2 game. Obviously, this is not going to hold up against the, the PlayStation 5 version, especially Pro version, with all of the new, PSSR updates and stuff, which is a very compelling and impressive version of the game. But this is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth running on a handheld system, which is pretty wild, pretty impressive. Yeah, let's get going. Like right off the bat, the big thing that stands out to me is that we're getting a solid 30 frames per second. It's not 60, so we're looking at quality mode performance with sub performance mode graphics. But again, I'm playing at 1440p on my fairly big monitor right in front of my face, and it looks good. I imagine handheld, it looks even better.
No fun at all. Though you do learn stuff on them.
That's so cool.
I'm just going to share this now on Blue Sky. Will you guys take a look at Nibelheim? Looking very nice. So I've played the opening little bit of the game. One sec. And skip through a bunch of cutscenes and stuff because I wanted to get into like something that was more than just the very opening intro with Zack and stuff. That didn't really feel like worthwhile for a stream, but here we are in Nibelheim with Sephiroth, and this is like the big opening scene to the game. Always impressive, and I'm curious to see how things hold up in combat, and hopefully we can even get to calm. Hopefully we can get to calm and see how that looks. I'm getting a lot of pop in. You can see a fair bit of pop in as we move forward. But yeah, hey Georgie, how's it going? This does look pretty good on Switch too. Like I'm really impressed, and I'm impressed that it feels solid enough while maintaining a steady frame rate.
Not going too fast for you, am I?
Of course not.
Like it feels good to play. Now, I've never really been bothered too much by frame rate in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It wasn't a game that I felt
I'm not even close to burned out.
it was necessary to go all the way to 60. I'm not also like a 60 FPS purist in the sense that I'd rather a stable 30 than an unstable, 50 to 60. I have some VRR, like I have a VRR monitor, I have a VRR TV, but my TV's VRR is bad and introduces inverse ghosting, so I don't get to use it there. And so I do find bad frame pacing and just judders worse than 30 FPS when my eyes adjust. Like if I sit down and I compare 60 and 30, like obviously 60 feels way better. When I'm actually playing a game like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I don't care that much. I don't find there to be a huge difference to my actual experience playing the game. And so for something like Switch 2, locking it to 30 is like a pretty good compromise for me personally.
I think I got this.
And I mean, the Switch 2 screen
Copy that.
on the actual device, like, you know, there's been a lot of talk about its ghosting and stuff, low refresh rate and everything, and you know, you're not getting the full benefit of VRR on that screen, or even getting the full benefit of like frame rates above 60 anyway. And so, you know, playing at 30 FPS on that screen, I think probably feels pretty good.
Awesome.
You think?
If you can handle
This is
30
how it's
FPS.
going to be. There doesn't seem much point in me fighting.
There's like, we're using a lot of DLSS upscaling, obviously, so you see it a lot in the hair.
Don't mind if
I don't know how well that's showing up on stream. I think I'm streaming at 1080p, so you might not be able to see a lot of the details, but you know, you're getting that shimmer, the, you know, the DLSS stuff in the hair mostly, I would say. But again, like, sure, if you're, you know, playing on a big 4K TV, it's going to be more noticeable. But if you're playing on a big 4K TV, like, the Switch isn't even trying to be,
Say, that one felt pretty good.
you know, the most powerful console in that regard. And I'll be honest, like, Rebirth, I had a lot of issues with image quality when I played through it on PlayStation 5, particularly with a lot of the ghosting. I think it's from Unreal Engine, really, but like a lot of like really distracting ghosting, and that bothered me quite a bit in the PlayStation version. Presumably it's still here in this version, though you might not see it as much.
Come on, soldier. You can do better than that, can't you?
Okay.
Just you watch.
All right. Velocity. Okay, now I need to remember how to play Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I'm a big fan of Rebirth, if you can't tell. I really like Remake. Rebirth, I think, is just like such a fabulous combination of taking like Final Fantasy VII or Final Fantasy turn-based stuff and mixing it into like an action-based combat system. Like when I place it up against Final Fantasy 16, for instance, like there's just no question. The sort of like classic mode stuff. It's essentially real time with pause, which I don't typically like, but it works really well here because I think the action element isn't super automated. Like you're still kind of playing it like an action game, but then you have the tactical elements of real time with pause. It just works really well for me. Done. All right. Let me know in chat if you want me to watch through cutscenes or if you'd prefer me to focus on gameplay stuff. Cutscenes, you're going to see a lot of like better examples of sort of how upscaling's being handled in the game.
well done, Trooper.
So it's kind of useful.
Thank you.
I got the rest.
Oh, I should mention that I'm playing on, so actually I'll show you this in a second. When I started the demo, and I assume when you start the game, I had the option of play like boost mode, I guess. And so I'm like level 65. I have a whole bunch of like special abilities that you wouldn't unlock until later in the game. Unlocked here. Georgie in chat says, my biggest issue is that even with the ray tracing power of the
Shall we pick up
PS5
the pace?
Pro, remake still has some really rough textures, rendering artifacts. Not as much as anything else, though. I admittedly haven't
about I go ahead and clear the way for
scoped it out on a super decked out PC.
I'll be careful.
Yeah, and that's like, that's kind of my take as well. I think just like
See you at the reactor.
the engine that Final Fantasy VII is built on just has limitations that like even the PS5 Pro with PSS VR or PSSR can't sort of sort through. And so, you know, it's a beautiful game, but it's also an open world game where they, you know, they made the compromises that they had to, and some of that is like there are just bad textures all around. You're probably seeing a bit more of them in the Switch 2 version than PlayStation Pro, but it's also not like, for instance, like Final Fantasy 16 is just like so visually polished top to bottom. It's just gorgeous. And that's never what Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was or tried to be. So, I mean, yeah, in all, first impressions are just really strong with this version of the game.
Well, that's that.
I didn't play through, well, I mean, I played through Final Fantasy VII Remake on a PS4. Played through Rebirth, obviously, on a base PS3. And I was really impressed with the remake demo. So the first game in the trilogy on Switch as well. And I think it kind of lends itself even better to the strengths of the Switch 2 compared to Rebirth. And I'm very curious to get to the kind of more open world segments. Sorry, I'm just backing up, trying to watch how the animations, like if there's decimated animations and stuff. Don't remember any of my controls. How do I do find it strange that they pit you against a bunch of flying creatures very early in this game. Though I suppose that's mostly to force you to use some of your abilities and stuff. One of the big, like, there's almost like a rock, paper, scissors element to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which I really like, or it reminds me in a lot of ways actually of
Gotta say,
Final
that
Fantasy
one
X,
felt pretty good.
where certain types of enemies have natural counters in your team, and so you have flying enemies, and you bring in, because you can control later in the game, you can switch control between characters, and so you want to bring in Barrett with his ranged attacks, or Aerith with her ranged attacks against aerial enemies, and then you have like big armored enemies, and you have you know, like, so you want to strategically bring in and play as certain characters, or create party combinations based on, you know, enemy composition. I think, couldn't you go in there? Is that because this area was in the, was this area in the first game? I can't remember. Yeah, integrate on the PS5 Pro is incredible. Georgie says in chat, especially at 60 FPS. Yes, absolutely. It's really cool to me how far this trilogy has sort of come, which makes me really excited for the third one, which, from the sounds of it, they're starting to ramp up towards revealing. And I'm just like so impressed by like this trilogy, like, you know, love it or hate it, love the changes, hate the changes, love the story stuff, hate the story stuff. I think the fact that this got such like an incredible amount of attention to creating new experiences within this world is just so great, and I can't wait to see what they do with 3, taking everything that they learned from Remake and Rebirth, putting it into to that final game. It's good. It's a good series.
This way.
All right.
Gotta make a detour through a Shinra facility.
To think I
Wanna
almost
make
made
a
you
tour?
our guide. Good thing I reconsidered. Otherwise, you'd have let us straight off a cliff. Lead on.
Yes.
But I mean, what we've been playing? How long have we been playing? 15 minutes now. And I gotta say, like, you know, combat, exploration, like everywhere has been like pretty rock solid. I was watching, I think GVG did a tech analysis, and like there's a lot of frame stuttering and stuff and frame pacing issues, but they're not really like super noticeable here. So, you know, where they do exist, I think John on that video was saying they sort of like the game will fluctuate between like 30 and you know, 28, 29 FPS now and then, maybe, but that's below VRR range, so it's not like the VRR on my monitor is really helping that out. Maybe it gets worse once you get into the busier open world sections, or Calm, which is packed with like NPCs, people living in the city. We'll see. Here's a good like close up of Cloud. So yeah, I mean, he looks good. There's a lot of artifacting on his hair just from the upscaling, but like this is pretty good. The big, like my biggest issue outside of the ghosting from Unreal Engine in the original Rebirth was just the lighting on the faces, which was sort of like comical in places and so flat and off-putting. We'll see if that shows up here. I haven't really noticed it yet, but yeah, let's see. If I can get close and in the light, you can kind of see, like, as I turn the camera, if I'm slow enough, it looks good. But if I go faster, you can see a lot of the artifacting in his hair. So it's like with movement. Okay. All right, what do we have here? I love the way that they manage, like, Final Fantasy VII is interesting within the Final Fantasy series because it, as the first game in 3D, and with Nomura kind of playing a larger and larger role in the series, you got more, so they kind of ditched a lot of, oh my gosh, Amano's long time sort of typical series. Oh yeah, Punisher Man. Oh my gosh, I forgot how to play this game. A lot of Amano's like sort of series long enemy designs, and just built some of the craziest bad guys, enemies in the series. And the fact that we just fought one of them, and the fact that they like meticulously recreated them for this game fills me with just a lot of joy. Just really happy to see like wacky enemies like the one we just fought, kind of rendered in like, you know, ridiculous high fidelity, instead of trying to, like, you know, I don't know, just reinvent the wheel, lean into what made Final Fantasy VII like so funky. Okay. And then also just like high enemy variety in the game is impressive, because Final Fantasy 16, for instance, like if we could come back to it again, like visually beautiful, visually impressive, but you know, the enemy variety was just so poor in that game. And I think that Final Fantasy VII, one of its strengths is that enemy variety. And so like having, I don't even know what I need to do here. Oh, there you go. You get a lot of that like DLSS artifacting on that fence. What am I doing? Yeah, so in any case, I love that, you know, like they committed to that enemy variety in the remake trilogy, because it would be easy to be like, oh, it's hard to make enemies, like, you know, let's kind of like come up with some basic forms. We'll have the soldier, we'll have a wolf, we'll have the flying one, and they do that. There's a lot of those in this game. You know, sort of cut and paste palette swaps, but you also get the funky ones like we fought earlier. All right.
Access granted.
Sweet. I love this part of the game. Love sweeping up Mako. I am gonna have to cut this stream a little bit shorter than I usually do for a lunchtime stream. I have a few commitments this afternoon, so it'll probably be closer to half an hour, another 10 minutes or so, rather than 45 minutes like I usually like to. But I think we'll have a pretty good sense of what the Switch 2 version of the game kind of looks and feels like by then, which is good. Like, that's just, like, I can say that now. Like, this is really impressive. And I know that, like, from watching some of the, like, impression videos, like the GVG one I was talking about earlier, that, like, in calm, where it gets busier, you can get some frame dips down into, like, the mid-20s, which, you know, is what it is. I know there's a lot of compromises. You know, a lot of just the scene setting, like, stuff, like, stuff on top of tables or walls, decorations have been trimmed down to help the game run better, but like it feels good and it looks good, and I think that that's sort of the most important thing at this point. Georgie in chat says, I've been playing Final Fantasy VII on Steam with the Suno mods, and it's really something. Have you scoped out those mods at all? I've definitely looked into a lot of mods for stuff like Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy IX back in the day, I wrote a big feature for Input about Moguri mod, which I thought was impressive. I haven't really played or committed to those for major playthroughs, mostly because I just kind of tend to stick to original hardware for a lot of those sorts of things. But, you know, right now I'm doing a playthrough of Illusion of Gaia on Super Nintendo with like a retranslation patch, and I'm loving that. So maybe there is a feature where I really dive into Final Fantasy VII with a whole bunch of mods and see where it's at right now. Some of them I find a little, like some of the visual, like, updates, quote unquote, I'm not a big fan of. So I'm looking more for like quality of life stuff, cleaned up translation, all that kind of stuff, more so than like visual upgrades. Because I think old games look good. Okay, so we're getting swept away. Is this when I start playing as Sephiroth? This part of the game was pretty crazy, first time through. All right. I'm pretty impressed that the game, like, that this demo lets you get all the way to Calm and into the open world around Calm. Because, like, I think a lot of games would just let you do the Nibelheim, the Zack stuff, and then this Nibelheim section as a demo. You know, it's going to take me an hour to get through it all. Gets you into combat, gets you a lot of cutscenes, you get to see some familiar locations. So the fact that they went, like, above and beyond, it's pretty impressive, I think.
Should get us back to the village.
We're not going to the village. Can you get us to the reactor?
Right.
Sorry, I don't think I can.
I see. Well,
Sephiroth is
can't send you
big.
back alone. You'll be safer with us.
He's tall.
Okay.
Tall guy.
I'll be joining you up front this time for your performance review.
You kidding me?
Good luck.
This part is cool. Getting to play as Sephiroth. And, like, this is, like, pre... I guess he started to kind of do his thing, but it is fun. Ooh, some materia. So, oh, you know what? Taking a breather so I can rest here. That'll also actually give me a good chance to, at this point, show off maybe some of the stuff that's coming with the Rebirth Switch 2 edition. In terms of just, like, quality of life improvements. Not even quality of life improvements, but just, like, options for I don't know, accessibility options. They're not really like accessibility in terms of like traditional accessibility options, but I do think that adding options to allow people to engage with the game in a way that they want to or need to is really important, and stuff like this can really help. So right off the bat, you have the streamlined progression options. So constant max HP, constant max MP, limit gauge always full, max synergy, ATB gauge always full, more experience in AP, max damage mini games, easy weapon ability acquisition, more materials collected. So you can see there's like a ton of different ways that you can sort of tweak your experience. If there's something you just like really don't like, you can at least lean into resolving that or taking the edge off. Now, would it be nice if you could set like what multiplier you're kind of applying against AP gain and experience gain? Like, sure, there's always room for more, but I think that's a pretty good start. And then at the beginning of the game, like I said, I picked the extended start or whatever they call it, and so I started at level 65 with a lot of different abilities and spells and stuff that I normally wouldn't have. So like Curaga, bunch of the elemental spells, etc. And then some abilities too, which is cool. That being said, like the battles are still sort of like still kind of hefty. Like it's not like I'm totally like
Off you go.
Oh, here we go. All right. Now I get to play Sephiroth. This is a good way to kind of like wrap up. Can't even remember what to press. I'm doing the wrong buttons. But yeah, like in combat, it's not like I'm, one-shotting enemies. They're definitely going down fast, but in some ways I kind of like this. Like I said, I do really like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth's combat system. Typically, I don't love combat systems that are based around like pressuring and breaking enemies. Just not my thing. I do think Final Fantasy VII Rebirth does it fairly well. Enemies aren't, well, no, sometimes they can be a little too spongy, but
More Mako gas ahead.
not as bad as
There's no way around it either.
other games, even other games in the series. Final Fantasy 13 I felt was really bad that way. Final Fantasy 16, same thing.
Let's not waste any time. Mako this thick is dangerous.
I was always really impressed by this area in Rebirth, and I'm glad to be back. Ooh, there's a piece of materia we can go gather. All right, so yeah, this part's cool. It's pretty game. Now I want to play through Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth again. It's a good looking crystal.
A Mako spring.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, but if we keep using Mako to power our homes, springs like this will disappear, right?
I really liked finding the
What are you
Mako
talking
springs in
about?
Final Fantasy
Who
VII
told you
Rebirth.
that?
You find the smaller ones, but they're always
I'm
kind of
the mayor,
led.
if you must know.
You're kind of led
Such
through
a
secret
place,
areas, and
huge.
visually there are
Mako
clues to
never
find
leave,
it, and there's
right?
like verdancy around them, and it always felt so rewarding to find a
Natural form of
Mako
materia.
spring.
And look at the size of it. Astounding. For the Mako energy to condense into
So I think we're gonna wrap up this stream. We'll watch this.
Eternity.
I've always wondered,
We'll watch
how
this.
does materia let you cast spells exactly?
You know what? We're actually gonna skip this.
How
Let's
did
skip
you
this.
ever get to be
You guys, if you want to play the game, play the game. But we'll skip this just so that we can kind of explore for another minute or two. See what we find. This this entire section is actually longer than I was remembering. I was thinking of trying to play through this and get to Calm before I started the stream. I definitely wouldn't have managed to do so. Oh, flame. Is this still... Oh. Whoop. I'm so lost. There we go. Okay. Cloud's holding down the fort for me against this Velocirwing.
Say, that one felt pretty good.
Feels and looks really good in this cave. Like, it's a good looking game. And it's holding up really nicely on Switch too. Like through this extended session. I like my, am I gonna go back and play through this on Switch 2? Would I play this on Switch 2 if I decided to replay, say, the trilogy? I might play Remake on Switch 2. I probably wouldn't play Rebirth on Switch 2, as impressive as it is. I think it's a great choice if you only have a Switch 2. Or you really value portability. It being an open world game, I know, like, where I sort of started to, excuse me, fall off a little, not even fall off, but like burn out a little bit was when I tried to do like all the side missions in every area and 100% them before I carried on to the next area, and I made it to about Gonzaga's a basketball team. Gongaga, before I was like, okay, I can't I can't do it anymore. But the Switch version of the game feels like it's like, I mean, portable games for me have always been so perfect for experiences like that. And I could see, like, if I could migrate my save over from the, you know, my completed save from the PlayStation and pick this up and do side missions in Rebirth while I'm watching the Blue Jays, like, that would be sweet. That would be really good. And so, like, maybe, you know, Rebirth would be a good fit on Switch if that's your type of thing. Certainly is appealing to me, but there are also so many other games I need to and want to play. There's the materia down there. Let's go grab it. And yeah, we're at about half hour. I do need to start getting a wiggle on here, unfortunately, but I think we've got a, you know, really good look at the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth demo on Switch 2, and, you know, I'm impressed. Switch 2, you know, it's a pretty beefy little machine, but it, you know, it is compromised in terms of raw power compared to the PlayStation 5, certainly compared to the Pro system. But I feel like, you know, not only is it sort of a miracle we have this game at all on the Switch 2, the fact that it runs as well as it does, looks as good as it does, and all with like portability in mind, like, pretty good. Definitely like something I'd be like pretty happy to recommend if you're looking to play through the game again, if you're looking to, you know, play it for the first time, if you never had a, you know, console that you could play it on. Definitely a great version. If you're okay kind of passing up some of the high-end visuals for all the good stuff that Switch is so good at. It's kind of wild that they gave Sephiroth so many unique attacks when you only play as him for this short little period of time. Okay, let's see. Is there a bench close by? Oh, you know what? I can just save. I think this is probably going to do it. Let's get this treasure chest, and I will call it a day. I appreciate everybody stopping by. If you were here with me on the stream, or if you were, you know, you're just checking out the VOD afterwards, thanks for joining me playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth demo on the Switch. Thanks, Georgie, for dropping by. Peace out to you too. Next stream will probably come up, you know, I don't know, tomorrow, maybe Friday. Next podcast will be next Tuesday for sure. If you're not already listening to Fun Factor, you can find us everywhere you find podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube, where we have an awesome video version of the show. You can find us on Discord. You can find us at funfactorpod.com. That's our website. It has links to all our socials and all that kind of fun, good stuff. I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much. And I'll catch up with you later.